welcome back to my channel. My name is Miruri, and if you're new here, we do videos with legal conversations. Today we're going to look at what is alternative justice system. In the recent past, we have seen an uproar of judiciary or of alternative justice system conversations, and I know maybe we've been wondering, what is this AJS about? So AJS is a concept that is derived from the Constitution of Kenya in Article 159 to C of the Constitution, which talks about judicial authority, and it just states that the judiciary, in exercising its authority, can also be guided by principles such as alternative forms of dispute resolution, including reconciliation, mediation, arbitration, intertraditional dispute resolution mechanisms that shall be promoted to that respect. So the Kenyan judiciary has been able to commission a task force to come up with a policy to respond to Article 159 of the Constitution, a policy which was launched last year, which is August 2020. So the policy was to promote strategies of mainstreaming and upholding of autonomous AJS mechanisms, and also propose ways in which it can be implemented, looking at the threshold of the Constitution and also the international human rights standards. So that is what alternative justice system is in short: the traditional and other informal mechanisms that Kenyans have used to access justice. So I know maybe someone might be thinking, what then is the difference between ADR and AJS? So ADR in full is alternative dispute resolution, while AJS is alternative justice systems, and these two are different, though they are correlated. ADR, alternative dispute resolution, is different because its processes are more structured in terms of, if you look at the arbitration or conciliation or mediation processes, they are well structured processes, and even the practitioners, let me say that the arbitration practitioners are people who have gone through a training, they are accredited and even registered. When you look at alternative justice system, it is the lived realities of the people, and so it does not need training, or it is not something that requires accreditation or registration. Everyone can become an AJS practitioner because it is our lived realities of how we have been able to resolve our disputes. For example, in a family setup, if there's a domestic dispute, then maybe there is a figure or someone who people go to resolve that dispute in that family. So that then becomes an AJS concept. It is the way that the people, or the Kenyan people, have lived and have preferred to resolve their disputes over the years. So what the judiciary is doing is to come in and then recognize those frameworks and then protect it, and then try to come up with a guided way that then meets the constitutional and the human rights thresholds. We have modality, what we call modalities of AJS, and this is how we're going to look at them. We're going to look at the state modalities and the non-state modalities, and at each modality we are going to look at both traditional and untraditional. So under the state modality, which under the traditional, we have what is called the traditional regulated courts. These are non-existent in Kenya. Let me not confuse that. We do not have traditional regulated courts in Kenya, but they do exist in places like Rwanda, what we call the Gashasha courts, which was formed to oversee or hear matters with genocide. And so these are traditional courts, but they are under the state, and so you find like the judges or the people who sit to hear or to determine matters in the Gashasha courts are appointed by the state, and they have like laws that guide their processes and their procedures, and that's why it's under the state. In Kenya, we do not have the traditional regulated courts. Non-traditional, we have the specialized courts, which is the tribunals. Like an example is the tribunals, and then we have mediation, arbitration, which also falls under that category. And I think we have explained why mediation, arbitration, and all that falls under ADR is different from AJS, yet correlated and yet interlinked and important in implementation of AJS processes. It's because it's formal, and so it falls under the state. It has structured processes that guides it. So that is the modality under the state-based informal or traditional system. So when you come to the non-state, the non-state modality, again we look at traditional and non-traditional. So under traditional non-state, we have, and I think we've heard of the Council of Elders, and the Council of Elders are different based on like ethnicity or area or geographical areas. Like if we have the Mijikenda Council of Elders, we have the local Council of Elders, we have the Gikuyu Council of Elders, or called Njuri and Cheke. And so the Council of Elders then become the non-state AJS modality under the traditional, because the way they function is more in the outfit, in the traditional outfit. To the other side, which is the non-traditional, we have what is called the popular forums. So the popular forums are, we could call them contingent, they are continuous. I mean, they could be formed for specific purposes. Like we have, if you go to most markets, they have their committees which resolve disputes that come up in their markets. We also have, they could be as simple as funeral committees. You see, like if it's funeral committee, wedding committee, if there is any disputes that come up, then that committee will be the committee responsible to handle that dispute. It could be committees formed for specific projects. Like, let me say, if there's a road project, there are the institutions, the government institutions that are implementing that project always come up with small committees to help resolve this small issues, small disputes, not necessarily small disputes, but the dispute, it becomes the first instant point at which the disputes that come from the implementation of that project are resolved. So we have the grievance redress committees, which will then now fall under the popular forums. So there are 4 categories of AJS. We have the autonomous AJS, we have the third-party autonomous AJS, we have the court-annexed AJS, and then we have the regulated AJS. So what the autonomous AJS is derived from the name autonomy. So they are independent institutions that use their own authentic ways or unique ways to resolve the disputes. So this could be now where we see like domestic disputes being resolved without interference of or guidance of any state institution or any, let me just say, that independent. That is what is autonomous AJS. We have the third-party autonomous AJS. Here at this typology or this category of AJS, we could have involvement of what we call the state-sanctioned institutions like the chiefs. Yeah, we could have the chiefs. We could have the likes of institutions like the National Land Commission. We could have institutions like NGOs at this level. So what third party means is that a third party is then brought to the resolution table. So, so the main characteristic of this model is that the state and non-state third parties are not part of any judicial or quasi-judicial mechanisms, but then they are involved in resolution of that dispute. So if you look at like where like 2 disputants come to an NGO, for example, to resolve that dispute, then the AJS system that will be applicable there is a third-party AJS system. And then we have the court, what do you call the court annexed? Court annexed. So court annexed refers to AJS processes that are used to resolve disputes outside court, but they are court annexed because they work closely with the court. For example, if we talk about the court users committee, that would be a court annexed AJS system. So court annexed AJS is it's almost bordering the line of using informal but also applying the formal. And then the regulated AJS is basically the formal court system. It has been recognized as a category of AJS because the way AJS functions is that the whole system is interlinked with the formal judicial system, such that if a dispute is handled at the autonomous level and it is not resolved, these people can then move the case forward to autonomous third-party AJS. If it is not resolved at the third-party AJS, then it can move to the court annex AJS level. If it is not resolved or the resolution is not satisfying to the disputants, then it can move now to the regulated AJS institutions, which is the formal court system. So how are AJS decision enforced? The AJS policy, or the judiciary, has recognized the AJS mechanism. That is why they are very important, or they participate in the launching of these committees. So if a decision has been made by an AJS committee, and of course the policy requires that there is documentation, and the people who sit in the committees are gender representative, and they are people of integrity. Yeah, so when a decision is made, this decision then becomes something that is enforceable on the parties. And if the parties decide that when the issue is still at the AJS level, that they go to court on it, I think the court then has that mandate just by recognizing that there's AJS, and by trying to protect it. They have to first of all consider asking if the issue is before any platform or any AJS levels before taking in that court. If it's a matter of enforcing the issues, the formal court system can also come to enforce the decisions that are made by the AJS institutions. And so what they will be looking at is if the decision meets the constitutional and the human rights standards threshold. Yeah, I think that is all we look. I know that there are many aspects of AJS, but in short, that is like the constitutional imperative of AJS, and also the different categories of AJS, and how AJS interlinks with our form of justice system. Okay, thank you for passing by, guys. I think if there are any questions, you can leave them down in the comment section. I'll be able to answer them. If there are questions that would require a video, I'll be able to do that. But let me know the questions that you have, or any clarifications on the things that I might have said and are not clear. Thank you for passing by. Until next time. Ciao.